Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with the end, at last, of the Andris Nelson's. Yeah, that's the guy. The Andris Nelson Shostakovich cycle with the Boston Symphony. I was so looking forward to this when it came out, and it began with a bang, and you can read some of those reviews on ClassicsToday.com, which predate this channel. And so I was writing in those days. Remember writing where you spell things and you don't have to pronounce them correctly because you can spell them correctly? Anyway, some wonderful performances of this cycle. I mean, no doubt about it, and some lousy ones. Well, the cycle began with a bang, and it goes out with a whimper. I mean, it really does. This is not good in many, many ways. And let's just start. What we get here is Symphonies 2, 3, 12, and 13. Now, nobody cares about numbers 2 and 3, and I don't want to hear about how some of you love them. This has nothing to do with your likes and dislikes. This has to do with the universe of reality in which nobody cares about numbers 2 and 3. People only do them to complete their cycles because they have to. There is not an artist who ever lived who has gone to bat and said, Shostakovich's greatest symphonies are numbers 2 and 3, and those are the only ones I care about. And no, it doesn't happen that way. They are experimental pieces, very, very unlovable in many respects. I enjoy them. I like them. I think they're fascinating. They're interesting milestones in his development as a composer. But I'm talking about the fact that when Shostakovich cycles come and go, everybody waits till the end to do numbers 2 and 3, usually, and to get them over with as soon as possible. So my point in saying that isn't that the music's bad. It's that these performances sound like they wanted to just get them over with. Not because they're quick, because just the opposite. Because they're cautious. They're well played, but sluggish. I mean, one of the things that makes these pieces tolerable is that they can be exciting. They can be, scary, and the daring, the risk-taking has to do with, forcing the orchestra to really push themselves. Well, Nelson's doesn't do that. I mean, if you just look at timings, Kondrashin, who we usually use as like a point of reference, who's notably a quick conductor, granted. Other people are slower, and it's okay. It took 16 minutes over the second symphony. This takes 19. And 26 minutes over the third symphony. And this takes like 33, 34. It's just, and the third is much less interesting than the second. A lot of people think it's just noisy and vulgar and irritating. Well, it is, but for a reason, I think, actually. And to drag it out to 30 plus minutes is not good. It's just not good. It sounds tentative. I mean, it just sounds like Nelson's doesn't quite know what music wants to do or how to get there. And that's just me. You may feel differently, but I have not been impressed by the last entries in this, because before this came numbers 1 and 15, which were not so great either. So that's that. Then we get to number 12. Now, 12 is often considered Shostakovich's worst symphony. It doesn't have to be. It's never going to be great because the finale is just ridiculously stupid. I mean, the dawn of humanity. I mean, really? I mean, seriously? Do we actually think Shostakovich believed that for a second? I mean, of course not. But there's a lot of good music in it, and the first movement can be thrillingly exciting if you just ram it home. Well, this performance is very deliberate. It's like the third. You go da 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 da. It's great. It's just it gets your blood boiling. But when it's and the second subject, ya da 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 da, it has to surge. This doesn't surge. This is it's I was prepared to like it. I was going to say, okay, he's taking it slower than anyone else ever has in order to show us that if you treat it with heaviness and seriousness, it's better music than we ever thought it was. I really was going to do that. Then I changed my mind. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work. The slow movement is beautiful. The third movement, which is just a transition to the finale, it's a la Beethoven's Fifth type thing. That goes well. The fuselage from the Aurora, the battleship, goes off nicely. And the finale is a complete and total failure. The very last bars, however, are extremely loud. So that they get. That they really do. Da, 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 pound, pound, crash. That's okay. But gosh, getting there is a slog. Then we get to Babi Yar. Oh my. Well, let's see. You have Matthias Goerne is the bass baritone of this, and he's quite good. And he's got the low notes. I didn't think he'd be able to do it, and he does do it. He does it very well. And you have the Tanglewood Festival Chorus, who's singing in all of this stuff, and the New England Conservatory Symphonic Choir as well. Let's see, they're in 13 in Babi Yar. There's strange things happening here. First of all, I have to just get dogmatic and get on my tam-tam. There isn't one. What is going on? I mean, the 12th has a tam-tam. The 13th, those big climaxes, crash, da-da-da-da. The first movement, da-da-da-da-da. The bell, bong, da-da-da-da. Crash, do-do-do-do. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. What was Nelson's thinking? I mean, you just can't. People say to me, "Oh, you just care about tam-tams." It's not that I care about tam-tams so much. It's that, well, I do care about tam-tams. But what I mean is, when you've got an instrument that's potentially the loudest thing in the entire orchestra, and it's marked triple forte, and you can't hear it, or fortissimo, whatever it is, something's wrong. The conductor isn't paying attention. It's symptomatic. And he does pay attention to other things. You hear the celesta, you hear the harp going blink. So why don't you hear something going crash? So that sort of blows the first movement. Humor, the second movement. Holy mackerel. It is it's so sluggish and heavy. It's dreadful. It's absolutely dreadful. It just doesn't work at that tempo. And there's no tam-tam. So then you get to the third movement in the store, where you begin to get the impression that the climaxes of this piece, which are hair-raising, harrowing, terrifying music, if you don't have the tam-tam, they're just not going to come off. And they don't. Going for the next two movements, there's no point in even continuing. It becomes more aggravating and disappointing as it goes, despite the excellent singing by Goerne and a decent chorus. And it's the Boston Symphony. They play well. Of course they play well, but I just feel no fire. There's no fire in Nelson's belly over this music. And if you can't work up a major head of passion and intensity over Babi Yar, then it's not going to happen at all. So, I mean, it's not horrible, awful, but it's thoroughly mediocre. These performances just have nothing noteworthy or positive to say about them. And, they're just there. They wrap up the cycle. And the result is it's a very, very mixed bag as a cycle. There are some beautiful performances in it. It's very good 5, 6, 8, 10, or 9. They're okay. Well, 9 was, 5, 6, 8, 10. 7 wasn't bad. 4 was good. But there are also some real duds. And it's not surprising, because who encompasses all of these works equally well? Very, very few people. But there are people who have done so far better than Nelson's has. And it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart to say so. Something was just not right here. It hasn't been right with anything Nelson's has done for Deutsche Grammophon, quite frankly. I mean, his Bruckner was horrible. Horrible. His Beethoven with Vienna, totally forgettable. And now they were going to do a Shostakovich cycle in Boston that I was very excited about, but something's off. Something is just off. And I that's all I can say. I mean, the evidence is there for the listening. This is not a hypothesis. I don't know what's going down with this guy. He's not at the top of his game in anything that I've heard him do for this label over time, consistently. And I'm sorry, but that's the reality of it. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.